My town has a siren that sounds once a year. This year, it never stopped. I grew up in a town that doesn't appear on most maps. About 2,000 people. One gas station. One school. One church. Nothing unusual, except for the siren. Every year, on October 14th, at exactly 10 p.m., a massive air raid siren mounted on the old water tower would sound for 1 minute. Nobody questioned it. Parents would quietly bring their children indoors before 10. Businesses closed early. The streets emptied. When I asked my dad what the siren was for, he'd always say the same thing. It's a tradition. That was never a satisfying answer. When I was 16, I decided to stay outside. I hid in the woods overlooking the water tower with 2 friends. At 9:59 p.m., the town became silent. No dogs barked, no crickets chirped. Even the wind seemed to disappear. Then, the siren began. It was deafening. A low mechanical wail that seemed to vibrate inside my chest for exactly 60 seconds. Then it stopped. Nothing happened. My friends laughed. See, just an old tradition. But as we walked home, we noticed something strange. Every front door in town was open. Not wide open, just cracked. Exactly the same amount. About 6 inches. The next morning, everything was normal again. No one mentioned it. When I asked my parents why every door had been open, they stared at me. What are you talking about? Years passed. I moved away, forgot about it, until last month. My dad died. I returned for the funeral. The town looked smaller than I remembered, older. But the water tower was still there. And so was the siren. I was only staying for 3 days. Unfortunately, October 14th fell right in the middle of my visit. At dinner, I asked my aunt if the siren still went off. Her fork stopped halfway to her mouth. You'll be inside before 10. It wasn't a suggestion. At 9:45 p.m., everyone in town disappeared indoors. Curtains closed. Lights went out. The streets became empty. I stood on my parents' old porch, determined to finally learn the truth. 9:59. The air became impossibly still. 10 o'clock. The siren screamed. Only, it didn't stop after a minute. It kept going. 1 minute. 2. 5. 10. The sound became so loud my ears rang. Then, something moved at the end of the street. At first I thought it was a person. Then it stepped beneath a streetlight. It was at least 9 feet tall. Its arms hung below its knees. Its skin looked pale gray, stretched tightly over something much too thin. It didn't walk. It tilted. Like each step happened in the wrong direction. Then another appeared. Then another. Dozens of them emerged from between houses. Every one of them turned their heads toward the sound of the siren. Not toward me, toward the water tower. One of them stopped directly in front of my house. It stared at the front door. Its head slowly tilted. Then, it knocked. 3 slow knocks. Nobody inside moved. The thing waited. Then it left. It continued down the street, knocking on every house. Always 3 knocks, never forcing its way inside. The siren had been sounding for almost 20 minutes. My phone had no signal. The power died. Then, the siren abruptly stopped. Every creature froze, completely motionless, for several seconds. Then every single one turned toward me. I realized something. I was the only person standing outside. They started running, not sprinting, gliding, too fast. Their feet barely touched the ground. I slammed the front door shut just as something hit it hard enough to shake the whole house. Another impact. Another. Then, silence. A voice came through the mail slot. My father's voice. "Son, I forgot my keys. My father had been buried 3 days earlier. I didn't answer. The voice sighed. Then, it perfectly copied my own voice. Open the door. The knocking continued until sunrise. Exactly at first light, it stopped. When I looked outside, the street was empty, but every front door on the block had 3 long scratch marks beside the handle, except mine. Mine had 4. That afternoon, I confronted the mayor. He finally told me the truth. The siren isn't a warning. What is it? It's permission. I didn't understand. He looked toward the water tower. It tells them when they may come. So why has it always lasted 1 minute? He hesitated. Because that's how long the old generator could run. My stomach dropped. The power outage. He nodded. The backup generator failed. So the siren, it never received the signal to stop. Workers climbed the water tower that evening. They opened the control room. Inside, they found the machinery destroyed. The cables had been ripped apart from the inside. There was no one else in the room. Just a message scratched into the steel floor. Thank you for leaving the door open. I left town the next morning. Halfway down the highway, I got a call from my aunt. She was crying. The census came. What? They're recounting everyone. Why? A long silence. Then she whispered, "They say the town has 2,143 residents now." I frowned. Isn't that about the same? No. Her voice shook. We buried 28 people this year. Nobody moved here. I asked how that was possible. She answered with one sentence that I still think about every night. They counted the ones who answered the knocking. Then the call cut off. I tried calling her back. The number had been disconnected. When I searched for my hometown online later that night, I couldn't find it. Not on any map. Not on any GPS. It's as if it was erased. Except every year on October 14th, at exactly 10 p.m., my weather app sends me a notification. It doesn't include a location. It only says, "Outdoor warning siren active. Remain indoors until the all-clear signal." The all-clear signal has never come. I moderate security cameras for a living. Last week, camera 23 started showing tomorrow. I work nights for a private security company. We monitor security feeds for office buildings, warehouses, hospitals, pretty much anywhere that doesn't want to hire an overnight guard. It's not exciting. Most shifts involve watching empty hallways and occasionally calling the police because someone forgot their access badge. There are 84 cameras spread across 12 buildings. One operator watches all of them. That operator is me. 3 weeks ago, camera 23 started acting strangely. At first, I thought it was lag. It overlooked the third-floor hallway of an office building that emptied out around 6 p.m. Every night at exactly 1 a.m., the feed would freeze for about 10 seconds. Then it would continue like nothing happened. I filed a maintenance ticket. The technicians checked the wiring. Nothing was wrong. The next night, it froze again. Only this time, something was different. The hallway clock. I always glanced at it because it helped me confirm the feed was live. The digital clock mounted above the elevators read 1:12 a.m. My computer said 1 a.m., 12 minutes ahead. I assumed the hallway clock had the wrong time. But then, an employee walked out of an office carrying a blue folder. That was impossible. The building had been empty for hours. I zoomed in. The employee looked nervous. He kept checking behind him. Then he ran into the elevator. The doors closed. Exactly 12 minutes later, at 1:12 on my computer, the same employee emerged from that office. Blue folder. Looking terrified. He sprinted to the elevator exactly as I'd already watched him do. Every movement was identical. The camera wasn't showing live footage. It was showing the future. I didn't tell anyone. Who would believe me? Instead, I started writing everything down. At 1 o'clock, a janitor slips on spilled coffee. At 1:12, it happens exactly the same. At 2:15, a light bulb bursts. 12 minutes later, pop. Every single event repeated. Exactly. I started using it. One night I watched a delivery truck back into a concrete pillar. I called the warehouse before it happened. "Tell the driver to stop," the manager laughed. 30 seconds later, he shouted over the phone. The driver slammed the brakes just in time. The crash never happened. I smiled, until I looked back at camera 23. The future had changed. The truck didn't hit the pillar anymore. Instead, it hit a man walking across the loading dock. I stared in horror. No matter what I prevented, something worse replaced it. I stopped interfering. The future became predictable, comforting almost, until last Thursday. Camera 23 showed me, sitting in the control room, watching the monitors, exactly where I already was. Only, future me wasn't alone. Someone stood behind my chair. Tall. Too tall. Its head brushed the ceiling. I spun around. Nothing. 12 minutes later. Still nothing. I laughed nervously. Maybe I'd imagined. The office lights flickered. I looked at camera 23. Future me had disappeared. The tall figure remained, standing beside the empty chair, looking directly into the camera. Then, it smiled. The next night, the future advanced again. Same room, same chair. Only this time, the thing walked closer to the camera. Its face came into focus, except it didn't have one. Just smooth gray skin stretched where features should have been. No eyes, no mouth. Yet somehow, it was smiling. I called maintenance. They replaced camera 23. Brand new hardware, new cables, new software. The replacement showed tomorrow, too. My supervisor finally believed something was wrong. He came in to watch. At exactly 1 o'clock, the future feed appeared. He leaned toward the monitor. "What am I looking at?" I pointed. "Watch yourself." On the screen, 12 minutes from now, him answered his phone. His expression changed. He whispered, "No." Then he grabbed his jacket and ran. Real-life him frowned. "My phone isn't even ringing." Exactly 12 minutes later, his phone rang. His wife had been in a car accident. He ran out exactly as the camera predicted. Neither of us spoke after that. The company disconnected camera 23 from the network. It kept transmitting. They removed the battery backup. It stayed on. Eventually, they physically removed it from the wall. The monitor still displayed footage from a camera that no longer existed. Then something changed. Instead of showing 12 minutes ahead, it showed 24. Then 36. Every night, the future moved farther away. Until yesterday. Yesterday. Camera 23 displayed next Friday, 7 days into the future. The building was empty. Every office chair overturned. The lights were out. Water dripped from the ceiling. Then someone walked into frame. It was me. Older. Exhausted. Covered in dried blood. I walked straight up to the camera, looked directly into it, and held up a piece of paper. Written in thick black marker were 6 words. "Stop watching. It can see both ways." Before I could process it, something reached into frame from behind me. Not from the hallway, from inside the camera itself. A pale hand with fingers far too long wrapped around my future shoulder and pulled me backward. The feed went black. That was yesterday. Today, every camera in the building is normal, except camera 23. Tonight, it isn't showing tomorrow anymore. It isn't showing the office. It isn't showing any hallway I've ever seen. It's showing a dim concrete room with a single metal chair in the middle. Every hour, someone new appears in the chair. They all wear different clothes, different ages, different faces. But each of them eventually notices the camera. Each one slowly walks toward it. Each one places a trembling hand against the lens, and every single one mouths the exact same sentence. I can't hear them, but I don't need to. Because tonight, at exactly 1 a.m., the person in the room was me. And when I put my hand against the camera, I saw another hand press back from my side of the screen. I was hired to watch a fire lookout tower. The man I replaced left one note. Don't answer the radio after midnight. I took the job because I wanted to disappear. No neighbors, no traffic, no phone calls. Just 6 months alone in a fire lookout tower deep in the mountains. The pay was surprisingly good, and the ranger who interviewed me barely asked any questions. He only slid a folder across the table. Inside was a map, a radio frequency, and a single page titled, Night Procedures 1. Lock the trapdoor at sunset. 2. Report weather every hour. 3. Ignore lights in the forest. 4. Never use the binoculars after dark. 5. Do not answer the radio after midnight, no matter who calls. I laughed. You guys really commit to the creepy forest vibe. The ranger didn't smile. You'll understand. The tower stood on top of a mountain with nothing around it for miles, just endless pine trees. The previous lookout had already packed his belongings. He was loading his truck when I arrived. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, hands shaking. As he passed me, he whispered, "If you hear someone climbing the stairs after midnight." He hesitated. "Count the footsteps." Before I could ask why, he drove away. The first 2 weeks were peaceful. Every morning I watched deer wander through the trees. Every evening I logged weather reports. Every night I heard owls. Nothing strange. Then came my first midnight. At exactly 12:03 a.m., the radio crackled. "Lookout 7. Do you copy?" The voice sounded distorted, like someone speaking underwater. I remembered Rule 5. I stayed silent. Again. "Lookout 7. Answer me." Static. Then, my own voice came over the radio. "I'm here." I hadn't spoken. The transmission continued. "I'm opening the trapdoor." I stared at the locked trapdoor beneath my feet. Then, I heard footsteps, wooden stairs, far below. Slow, heavy, climbing. 1, 2, 3, 4. I remembered what the old lookout had said. Count them. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then, nothing. The staircase outside had exactly 73 steps. Whatever had been climbing stopped at 10. It stayed there for almost an hour. I never heard it leave. The next morning I checked outside. The staircase was empty, but every 10th step had a wet footprint, bare feet, much larger than any humans. That evening I radioed the ranger. Someone was outside the tower. Silence. Finally he replied, "How many steps?" 10. A pause. "Good." "What do you mean, good?" "If it ever reaches 73. The transmission ended. Over the next week, the footsteps returned every night, always climbing, always stopping. But each night, 1 step higher. Night 1, 10. Night 2, 11. Night 3, 12. It was getting closer. I stopped sleeping. Every midnight I sat with my back against the trapdoor, listening, counting. 21, 22, 23. Closer. One afternoon I searched the tower for answers. Inside an old cabinet, I found a notebook, the previous lookout's journal. The last few entries were almost unreadable. Day 96. It copies voices now. Day 102. It knows my name. Day 108. The footsteps are at 59. The final page only read, "Don't let it finish climbing." That night, the footsteps reached 60, then 61, then 62. Each step made the tower vibrate. The radio switched itself on. The same voice. Mine. "I'm tired. I'm opening the trapdoor. I'm letting you in." I unplugged the radio. The voice kept talking. The next morning, there were muddy fingerprints on the underside of the trapdoor, from the outside, as if something had been hanging beneath it. Waiting. I called the ranger. "I'm leaving." "No." "What?" "If you leave before your replacement arrives, it follows." "What follows?" He didn't answer. By the end of the month, the footsteps reached 70. Every night. One step. Pause. Another step. Pause. Closer. I started hearing breathing beneath the floorboards. Not through the radio, not outside, inside the tower. Slow. Patient. Like someone lying underneath me. 3 nights ago. Step 71. The tower shook so hard my coffee mug fell off the table. The radio came alive. This time, the voice wasn't mine. It was the previous lookout. "I opened it!" He sounded terrified. "I'm still here." Then screaming. Then silence. Last night. Step 72, just one below the platform. I sat on the trapdoor holding the bolt shut with both hands. Something knocked. 3 slow knocks. Then a voice, perfectly mimicking the ranger. "It's over. Your replacement is here. Open the trapdoor." I looked out the window. A truck was parked below. Someone was unloading supplies. I almost believed it, until I counted the staircase. There was no one on it. The truck was empty. It's 11:54 p.m. as I type this. The radio has been off for hours, but I can still hear it. Someone is climbing. Slowly. Carefully. There are only 73 steps. Last night it stopped on 72. Tonight, I've already counted. 73. The footsteps have stopped. Whatever climbed the stairs isn't outside anymore. It's standing on the trapdoor. And it just whispered, "Your shift is over." I work the night shift at a self-storage facility. Unit 314 is rented by someone who died 12 years ago. I've worked at a storage facility for almost 5 years. 99% of the job is boring. People forget gate codes. Someone locks themselves inside after hours. A rat dies in a ventilation shaft. Nothing exciting. Then I got promoted to overnight manager. The day supervisor handed me a ring of old brass keys. "There are only 3 rules," he said. 1. Never open Unit 314. I laughed. He didn't. 2. If the motion sensors go off in Building C after 3 a.m., don't check them until sunrise. I thought he was messing with me. Then he added the last rule. If the intercom rings from an empty hallway, don't answer. He walked away before I could ask why. For the first month, nothing happened. The cameras occasionally glitched. The wind rattled the roll-up doors. Pretty normal. Then one rainy Tuesday, at exactly 3:13 a.m., Building C's motion alarm activated. Camera 12. I pulled it up. The hallway was empty. Then, one storage door slowly rolled open by itself. Unit 314. No one came out. No one went in. It just stayed open. I remembered Rule 1. Don't open it. Technically, it was already open. Curiosity got the better of me. I grabbed my flashlight and headed over. Building C is isolated from the rest of the property. The lights buzz constantly. Everything echoes. As I walked down the hallway, every unit door was shut, except 314. It was open about a foot. Dark inside. No sound. I called out. "Facility staff." Nothing. I pushed the door another few inches. My flashlight swept across. An empty room. Concrete floor. Bare walls. Nothing. Except A wooden rocking chair, slowly moving. Back and forth. Back and forth. There wasn't a single window, no breeze, yet it rocked like someone had just stood up. Then my radio crackled. Dispatch. Why are you inside Unit 314? I froze. I'm not inside. According to the cameras, static. You walked in 2 minutes ago. I looked behind me. I was still standing in the doorway. I'm literally looking into the unit. Silence. Then dispatch spoke again. No. A long pause. We're looking at someone standing inside, looking back at you. I spun around. The hallway was empty. When I looked back into the unit, the rocking chair had stopped, completely. Then, something smiled from the darkness behind it. Not a face, just teeth. Floating. White. Perfect. Far too many. I slammed the door shut, locked it, ran all the way back to the office. The next morning, I demanded to see the rental records. The owner refused. Eventually, he sighed. Fine. He unlocked an old filing cabinet. Unit 314 had one renter, a man named Thomas Greer. Lease signed. Payments stopped. Reason? Tenant deceased. I frowned. So why hasn't anyone cleaned it out? He stared at me. We've tried. Apparently, every employee who entered Unit 314 quit within a week. One disappeared entirely. Another was found wandering 30 miles away. He kept repeating the same sentence. It wasn't empty after I looked twice. The owner eventually welded the latch shut. A week later, the weld had been cut clean through. No tool marks, just gone. After hearing all this, I decided I was done asking questions. I worked my shifts, ignored Building C, ignored the alarms. Life returned to normal. For a while. Then customers started complaining, not about missing property, about extra property. One woman rented Unit 219 to store furniture. A month later, she called furious. There are family photo albums in my unit. She assumed someone broke in. The albums belonged to strangers, people who had died decades ago. Another customer found children's shoes. Another found a wedding dress. One found a framed photograph of himself sleeping, taken the previous night. Police investigated. No fingerprints, no forced entry, no explanation. Then one night, the intercom rang. Rule 3, don't answer. It rang again, then again. Finally, it stopped. 5 minutes later, every phone in the office rang simultaneously. Desk phone, emergency phone, my cell, even an old fax machine, against my better judgment. I answered the desk phone. A man's voice whispered, "Wrong unit." Click. The next morning, unit numbers across the property had changed. Not physically. The signs were the same. But according to every computer, every map, every lease, Unit 314 no longer existed. Customers renting 313 suddenly had leases for 314. 314 became 315. 315 became 316. It was as if the building had rewritten itself. Except, the hallway still had a door labeled 314. Only employees could see it. Customers walked right past without noticing. Last Friday, our newest hire ignored the rules. He laughed when I warned him. I'll prove it's just an empty room. He walked to Building C. I watched through the cameras. He rolled up the door, stepped inside. The lights flickered. The camera froze. 3 seconds later, he walked back out, closed the door, returned to the office. He smiled. See? What was in there? He looked confused. What do you mean? The storage unit. There wasn't one. He went home. Never came back. The next morning, every employee forgot his name. His payroll records vanished. Security footage showed nobody entering Unit 314, except for one frame. One single frame, taken between camera glitches. It shows someone sitting in the rocking chair, watching the doorway. It's not the new hire. It's me. Only, the timestamp says the picture was taken next Thursday. My apartment had a maintenance tunnel behind the bathroom mirror. I wish I never opened it. I moved into apartment 4C because it was cheap. That should have been the first warning. It wasn't run down exactly. The building was from the 1970s. Ugly brown brick, permanently smelling like old carpet and boiled cabbage. The landlord explained the low rent by saying the previous tenant had left unexpectedly. I assumed that meant they skipped out on rent. For the first month, everything was normal. Then I started hearing knocking. Not loud banging, just 3 slow taps. Tap, tap, tap. Always from the bathroom, always around 2:17 a.m. The first few nights I ignored it. Old pipes, neighbors, buildings make weird noises. But then it became consistent. Every night, 2:17. 3 taps. One Thursday, I decided to stay awake. I sat on my couch watching TV with the volume muted. At exactly 2:17. Tap, tap, tap. It wasn't coming from the walls. It was coming from behind the bathroom mirror. I walked in, expecting maybe loose plumbing. The mirror was one of those large medicine cabinets built into the wall. When I opened it, there was another metal panel behind it. No shelves, no pipes. Just a gray steel door with a tiny handle. I'd somehow never noticed it before. It had no lock, just a handwritten label in faded marker. Maintenance access. Curiosity 1. I pulled the handle. The panel swung inward. Behind it was a narrow concrete tunnel, barely shoulder width. Pitch black. Cold air drifted out, carrying a smell I can only describe as wet pennies. I grabbed my phone flashlight. The tunnel stretched farther than the light could reach. I figured it connected all the apartments. Maybe electricians used it. I stepped inside. After about 20 feet, I noticed doors. Small metal hatches. Each one had apartment numbers. 4A, 4B, 4C, 4D. Maintenance access behind every bathroom. Weird, but not horrifying. Then I saw something scratched into the concrete. Don't let them see you looking. I laughed. Someone trying to scare maintenance workers. I kept walking. Another message. If you hear breathing, turn off your light. At that exact moment, I heard breathing. Slow. Deep. Not mine. Ahead. I froze. The breathing stopped too. Silence. Then, 3 taps. Tap. 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 Much closer this time. I turned off my flashlight. Complete darkness. The kind where you lose all sense of direction. I stood there for what felt like 10 minutes. Then I heard footsteps. Not walking, crawling. Hands. Knees. Moving slowly toward me. I couldn't see anything, but I could hear fingernails scraping concrete. Closer. Closer. Then, someone whispered, "You're not maintenance." Every hair on my body stood up. I ran. No flashlight. Just stumbling through darkness, smashing into walls. Eventually, I reached my apartment hatch, slammed it shut, shoved the mirror back into place, and spent the rest of the night sitting on the kitchen floor holding a baseball bat. The next morning, I told the landlord. He stared at me for a long time. Then he said something strange. "You opened it?" I said yes. His face went completely pale. He didn't ask why. He didn't ask what I saw. He simply asked, "Did it see you?" I laughed nervously. "What?" He repeated it. "Did it see you?" I admitted I didn't know. He sighed. Then he refunded my entire security deposit, in cash, without me asking. He said I should leave before sunset. I moved out that afternoon. I wish that was the end. 3 months later, I got a package. No return address. Inside was my bathroom mirror. Not the same type. The exact same mirror. Same scratches. Same medicine cabinet. Same maintenance door behind it. The tunnel was gone. Just solid drywall. There was one sticky note attached. It read, "It followed the only person who looked back. I threw the mirror into a dumpster 5 miles away. That night, at exactly 2:17 a.m., 3 slow taps came from my bedroom wall. Tap. 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 I moved again. Different city. Different state. Didn't matter. Every place I've lived since has had those 3 knocks. Always at 2:17. Always from the nearest wall. I've learned one thing. If I ignore it, the knocking lasts exactly 9 seconds. If I walk toward it, it stops immediately. Last night, after 6 years, it didn't knock. Instead, something knocked back after I accidentally tapped my headboard. 3 slow taps from the other side of the wall. There isn't another apartment on that side. It's the outside of the building. And this morning, written in condensation on my bathroom mirror, there were 6 words. "Maintenance will arrive tomorrow. Please stay inside."